Welcome to the Dance Council of North Texas, a one-of-a-kind dance service organization that promotes and supports dance in North Texas. Since 1973, Dance Council of North Texas has served more than 663,000 through free educational activities, online and print publications, community outreach, and performances. A community-oriented arts organization that nurtures the entire life cycle of dance, from dance experts to those experiencing dance for the first time. Dance Council of North Texas exists to nurture dancers and choreographers, engage dance audiences, and heighten appreciation and support for dance. Dance Council of North Texas has seen unprecedented growth in recent years, reaching over 163,000 people in North Texas annually. Dance Council of North Texas serves close to 5,000 each year through educational programs like Youth Council, Dance Planet, adaptive dance classes and workshops, and DCNT summer scholarships. Over 100 Dallas ISD students engage in free educational experiences taught by premier dance professionals and have the opportunity to perform through the Youth Council program each year. Dance Planet is the largest free dance festival of its kind in the country. Dance Planet hosts over 30 master classes in an extensive array of dance styles to 1,000 dance enthusiasts at any stage and any age of their dance experience. Dance Planet offers inspiring talks with dance professionals, as well as opportunities to perform with 80 other dance groups in dance styles from all over the world. Each year, Dance Council of North Texas awards over $38,000 in scholarships to at least 45 outstanding dance students and one dance educator to attend distinguished summer dance programs and professional
Welcome
development
to
seminars.
Another episode
Dance
of
Council of
Art
North
and
Texas.
Stage Talk Show. We're very excited to be here.
Hello, Heidi Hardy. How are you?
Hello, Tracy Jordan. Yeah, I'm fantastic. In fact, it's Fat Tuesday.
Yep, got the beats
Wearing
on.
our-
We do. And we
Got
have
the
a
beats.
fantastic guest in the studio, Joel Farrell.
Hello, all.
Hey, we've been looking forward to having you.
I'm so glad to be here. Just watching that intro was, I got a little misty. There were like Albert Drake and Dilise Croman and dancers that I've known since they were kids up there, like teaching classes. I was like,
I was getting a kick out of the over 663,000 people served. It reminds me of the McDonald's sign,
that's right.
12
That's
billion served.
right. That's right.
Well, it's impressive for sure. And we do talk about the Dance Council and all that it does for the community. And this program is presented by the Dance Council. So,
Well, and we're delighted to bring you a wider view of the art scene here in Dallas.
absolutely. The art and stage part.
If it's artsy and if it's on the stage, brother, we're going to bring it to
I
you.
love it, and I'm glad to be here representing the crusty theater side.
Crusty is
It's like
something
watching
of a
all those
crust.
young dancers. I was like, we need to let's do more of that. That looks awesome.
And we were there only yesterday.
We just 2-3 short years ago, Tracy and I were dancing up a storm.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about all the storms you guys created, for sure, on the show. Very excited about it. But before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Park Place Volvo. And Tracy, take it away.
You know, we're delighted to have Park Place Volvo as a sponsor of Art and Stage. If you want a car that's perfect for you and your family with plenty of power, outstanding safety, state-of-the-art technology, not to mention dashing good looks, in other words, if you want the total package, and believe me, no car gives it to you like a Volvo, especially when you get it at Park Place. Park Place Volvo is offering the 2017 S60 Inscription from just $389 a month with zero cash due at signing. It's the ultimate luxury sports sedan with incredible handling and comfort. Oh yes, and some of the most beautiful Swedish design this side of Stockholm. Super smooth to drive and super low on fuel consumption with a 4-cylinder turbocharged and supercharged engine. Plus cool technology like smartphone-controlled engine with remote start, advanced Sensus infotainment system, and a built-in Wi-Fi hotspot, all standard. You know, I've always wanted a built-in hotspot. Park Place is also including the Inscription package on the S60, which ups the ante on style with 18-inch titania alloy wheels and modern wood inlays. Like I said, it's the total package, and nothing completes it like a trip to Park Place. It's unlike any other dealership you visited where you'll be treated with respect and personal attention. How personal? Well, they have a one-touch sales process with a single associate who's with you the whole way. Forget about being handed off, and their service people are just as on top of their game, always greeting you by name and making sure your car gets the expert treatment. All while you lounge in total luxury with gourmet coffee, free Wi-Fi, flat-screen TVs, and even a dedicated kids area. Yes, I know some of you would appreciate that. So to wrap it up, it's total peace of mind and a total perfect Volvo experience. That's Park Place. Stop by their Dallas location now or visit parkplace.com to browse current inventory, schedule a test drive, and experience Volvo performance in a dealership.
The double,
just
the
wanna
double
do
P,
this.
the double P. I know you are your own built-in hotspot.
That's a compliment.
I'm sure there's stories there. Someone else will have to tell.
Yes, thank you, Park Place Volvo. We
Yes.
really appreciate their sponsorship, and in fact, I had the privilege of visiting them this past week, and they couldn't be more generous and excited about supporting us. And we appreciate them.
they're not your father's Volvo. Volvo used to have a reputation of being the econo box, and let me tell you, they got some sporty, good-looking cars these days.
They're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. So please check out Park Place Volvo.
And I have to say, they provide incredibly cool thermal coffee mugs.
Yes, check out their mugs while you're there.
Like,
Some product placement.
no lie, I'm loving this.
It's a lot of fun. So, Joel, I have your bio from the website, and I don't know if it would do you justice for me to read it, but I know just to introduce you to everything that we're going to talk about today, I'll give a little background on you. You are the Associate Art Director at the Dance Theater Center here in Dallas.
The Dallas Theater Center, right? Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the Dallas.
No,
Theater
it's
Center.
okay.
And you, where you're directing choreography. There's a lot of credits here. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is one of my favorites. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Cabaret, A Christmas Carol. So there's you have a wonderful background in theater, and this show is about for the love of theater. What makes you tick? What makes you do what you do all the time? So. I know Tracy, you both are, you have wonderful background histories, and so I think we're going to have a wonderful show.
Tracy and I, oh my gosh, I don't know the first time we worked together, but it's a while ago.
It was a while ago. And I've known you for years, but I want to know, are you a Dallas boy originally?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
Born in Waco, but we escaped, as I like to say. Shout out to Waco. But I was raised in Fort Worth, and honestly, the how did you find it? My family was liberal and arts friendly, but not artists and not and I just sort of came out of the womb loving it all. It's one of those bizarre, inexplicable things. But I saw musicals and movies, and I don't know how early I started begging to be taken to live theater. I don't even know how I knew there was live, to be perfectly honest with you. But, lucky for me, Fort Worth had Casa Mañana and Fort Worth Theater. And somehow I got whiff of the fact that was going on. And I think I was 6 or 7 when I managed to beg my mom to take me to see something at Casa Mañana Summer Musicals. And by a few years later was taking children's classes there, ultimately got my equity card there in 1981, coming out of the University of Texas, then became sort of a borderline resident director choreographer after spending the better part of a decade in New York, and then so weirdly ended up as the artistic director. And this is all now somewhat ancient history, but all of that is simply to say that as a kid who had no idea how to get there, had no clue how you found professional theater or got involved in it, the fact that my city had professional theater available and that theater had education and outreach and ways for you to gain agency was everything. I mean, I truly have no idea what in the world I'd be doing if that hadn't been available.
You don't realize at the time how lucky you are. You can look back and see, but if you've ever been in cities that don't have that, it's...
Oh my gosh. We were talking earlier about my colleague at the Dallas Theater, our artistic director, Kevin Moriarty, grew up in a small town in Indiana, and his parents, probably at his begging, would drive him to Chicago and to Indianapolis. And I was saying earlier, they started out with buying one performance probably a year, and that turned into, well, let's buy a subscription because clearly this is something the whole family loves doing, and that turned into a life's devotion to the arts. And their son turns out to be the artistic director of the Dallas Theater Center. So it's, I think it's easy inside the arts to both take for granted or sort of forget in some ways that there is just no question that a city is richer and better, and there is, test scores go up. I mean, there's 1,000 studies, but I'm lucky enough to live across the street from Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. And to me, it's the happiest place on earth. I'm like, oh, the high school I was supposed to go to. Loved my high school. But I mean, I'm over there and it's just incredible. These kids that were, that remind me of me and Tracy and the rest of us when we were young, who were probably scraping and clawing to try to find a place, have this amazing incubator. So it's pretty thrilling.
We actually got to grow up with the regional theater movement.
We really did.
That kind of coincided with our growing up years, because in the '60s, it with people like Frank Young in Houston,
right.
Tom Hughes here in Dallas, and Mel Dacus over in Fort Worth at Casa Manana, that were proponents of it doesn't all have to be about New York. We can create
right.
Theater and musical theater here in the regional cities. And
I jokingly say all the time, I truly have never said this out loud because, give away everything, but I was born in 1959. Casa Manana was born in 1959. The Dallas Theater Center was born in 1959. So as a kid, you look at those institutions and think they must have been around forever. Well, they were fledgling. Yep. I mean, they were babies. And so whether you're talking about what we knew sort of as regional summer stock, because most of the theaters that we've worked in started out as throw up 8 musicals in the summer, bring in the pros that know the show, but then fill it out with energetic and talented kiddos. And at the same time, what was going on was the Guthrie and the Old Globe and Dallas Theater Center, all of those regional theaters on a slightly different model were building up. And to this day, I sort of enjoy the joyous schizophrenia of moving in between those two models because one of them, by the nature of large shows, musicals, which, again, in the old days had 30, 35, 38 people in them, not to mention an orchestra, the only way to do that affordably was to do it fast. Was to put it up at lightning speed, play it to the biggest amount of humans you could cram into a tent. Sacramento Music Circle, Melody Top, all of those places. The only reason Casa wasn't a tent is because people knew they'd die of 115-degree heat. So brilliant Melvin O'Dacus got the city to put a bond election together, and they built a cinder block building and put a Buckminster Fuller geodesic dome over it. So, I mean, some of it is so scrappy and not happenstance. I don't mean it that way. It is so classically sort of American ingenuity of just like, we can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this. We don't all have to go to New York. That's thousands of miles away. We'll just do it out here. And, what I consider to be the stars were the people I got to see at Dallas Summer Musicals and Casa Manana and Dallas Theater Center.
Speaking of which, that was one of the fun things working at Casa and in the summer shows at DSM, getting to work with some of those stars. Who were some of the folks that you worked with?
I have this running joke that I worked with most of the cast of Laugh-In over at so once they were done with that show. So of course the inimitable Ruta Lee. I'm dating myself I think, honestly, the first professional show I ever saw was Ruta Lee and Unsinkable Molly Brown, and I want to say maybe 1965 or 1966, in the round with the actors running up and down the aisles beside me, and I thought it was the most thrilling, unbelievable thing. It was like in your nostrils theater, and I think one of the things that I love about our home at the Wiley Theater and getting the split time between that and the Kalita Humphreys at Turtle Creek is they have such a great relationship between audience and actor, and we can of course mutate the Wiley to anything. So often I'm directing in the round in arena, employing the lessons that I learned when I was 6 and 7, watching all of it happen around me. But Howard Keel, Artie Johnson, Debbie Reynolds, Van Johnson. I mean, it was the old guard, but they were so amazing, and they were so not snooty about being in little old Fort Worth, Texas, running up and down those aisles. I mean, they loved it. They delivered 8 shows a week, and occasionally they were quirky or had unique personalities. But overall, they were just good old diehard troopers, who knew that they were incredibly fortunate to have been able to make a life in the arts.
Well, a lot of those folks that came out of the old studio system were troopers because they were used to working hard.
And man, that is, I will say, it's interesting because now that we have a lot of incredible musical theater conservatories, and there's so many of them, but Carnegie Mellon and CCM and Michigan and OU, there's so many of them. And what I find interesting is I feel like I was from the generation that sort of grew out of the 60s and 70s and liked their drinking and other recreational activities a lot, and probably got into theater as much for the lifestyle and the fun of it. But in a weird way, if you're going to survive it, you really have to be a hard worker. It is not easy, and it's amazing to me that those lessons first came from those old diehard. I mean, you had to drag most of them out of the theater.
Yeah, I love the information and
stop us, Heidi.
No. I don't want to interrupt, but we do need to take a break, and the break that we're going to take is actually a video from the Christians.
Oh, awesome.
And so definitely. Well, when we get back, I love your story, and especially I'm.
Well, give us a quick setup.
We'll mutate that to the present, but this The Christians is a play that I got to direct recently. We just closed about a week ago by a young, amazing playwright named Lucas Nath, who is about to have his first show on Broadway, as a matter of fact. And he grew up in an evangelical church in Orlando, Florida, and he really loves playing with theater that plays out in a public forum or that requires sort of the citizenry to come to it with a degree of responsibility. And so he wrote a play that is about a minister who has an epiphany, a shift in his doctrinal theology, preaches that to his congregation one day as a total surprise to the other hierarchy of the church, et cetera. And then the ramifications of what happens, and the entire piece is played out as a live church service, meaning basically the audience becomes the congregation. There's a live choir on stage, which for us was volunteers from choirs all over Dallas and Fort Worth. This sounds a little dry, but it's not. He patterned it after the Greeks because part of what he loves about the Greeks is that the entire city came, and those great Greek plays were wrestling out great ideas of justice and decency and and human rights.
Right.
So it's a really thrilling play. Got amazing response. We could not have been more thrilled, and you're going to see, I think, some info about either putting the choirs together or maybe the audience response.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
The Christians would thought-provoking.
I thought it was very intriguing. Thank you.
Complicated, and I think you can come into it many different views. Leaving, absolutely recommend it.
Christians is a really awesome play that takes a look at both of the issues, law of God, and how that applies to megachurches and money. Church just takes that whole.
The Christians was a thought-provoking show. It was good, open-ended. And give us a thought. It's not Joshua, it's not Paul. You decide for yourself. I think it's a good thing. You don't want to tell people them to think.
The Christians is start a conversation. We need conversations all the way around, and I think that this.
Welcome back. You're listening to Art and Stage Talk Show, and we have wonderful Joel Farrell in the house.
Yes.
Yeah. And Tracy Jordan,
And happy to be here with you all.
hosting with me this awesome program. So yeah, I mean, I watched this, Joel, before we came here, and of course read about the play, and it sounds really amazing. I'm sad that I missed it, and that's kind of why we want to promote this the arts for those people who are like me, who might have whether it's time or money or whatever, when do I subscribe and try or try and subscribe?
Yeah, right.
And how does that work for people?
What do you say to someone who perhaps has lived here all their lives,
Yeah,
but has
absolutely.
never been down to see a show at the Wiley or at the Kalita?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I understand. I mean, the first thing I usually say is like, listen, man, if you're making a life for yourself, raising kids, there are, the world slips by you quickly, and I understand that. And I think what most people find, if they haven't just sort of grown up as arts patrons, is that if you'll go the first time, and if we're doing our job and delivering something that is not just sort of what you could see on TV or what you could rent or look at on Hulu or, but something that is so alive and ignites and creates conversation that you don't want to leave the theater and rush home. You want to leave the theater and go someplace and talk for 2 hours about ideas that get lost in the day-to-day of just keeping on with life. And you heard a bunch of people in that say thought-provoking, that terrifying hyphenated word, but literally our mission, and I think this has been a fascinating journey for me. I'm about in my 8th year at the Dallas Theater Center, but had a relationship with the theater well before I became a staff member. But our actual mission statement says, to create conversation, to ignite conversation, and to inspire new ways of thinking and living. And that can sound a little general, but when you're really testing every play that you think about doing, and every play or musical that you're thinking about doing based on, is this going to inspire interesting, lively, controversial at times conversation among Dallas as it should truly be represented? This is an incredibly diverse city. And I think there are times where it gets really hard to be intentional about saying, do we have a theater that is representative of the city that we walk out into the middle of? And our job is to make sure that any human being who comes to see us sees something of themselves and something of their life reflected up there, whether that's reinvesting in some wonderful way in a classic, whether that's I see so many good plays in New York every year. Kevin does, our director of new play development, Lee Trells, sees them. And there are many that we pass by, not because we don't think they're great plays, but because we think our audience has seen a lot of that, or that does not feel like that's not the play where you will, instead of going home, you'll drive to a bar or a restaurant and sit and talk about ideas for 2 hours. So anytime somebody says it was jarring or thought-provoking, it's not that we're, ever intending to upset anyone. Well, occasionally, maybe. But I know that's the thrill for me. I mean, I wouldn't keep going to live theater, live dance. There is something about that live experience. And I think for a lot of people, what's the surprise, if it's new for you, is if you'll invest in an organization, whether that's Bruce Wood Dance Project or Dallas Theater Center or Undermain Theater, there's so many great places. You get to know the way they work, who their artists are, what makes them tick. You cannot help but get into conversation with them. And having stumbled into that as a kid, it's like my life's blood. I have no idea how boring the world would be if I weren't going to experience all that, because it lifts me out into the poetic, to the existential. Sometimes it just makes me screamingly laugh at the human comedy which, you can often feel isolated. I'm the only one that thinks blah, blah, blah. I'm the only one that worries about blah, blah, blah. You go
Right.
see a good piece of theater like, oh, dear Lord, me and 8 million other people.
Just the concept of the Christians, I mean, the relevance, in today's, I read articles all the time. My 3 children are millennials, and that's a conversation that we have on a regular basis.
Yep.
Church, and
Yep.
is going to church important? And so, so that's one of the reasons why I was excited that you were coming today, because the feeling that to be a director for a play like that, and then listen to just a few of the people that their thoughts.
Right.
Has to be an amazing job and experience and opportunity.
I think it's genuinely overwhelming, I think, for any actor or artist or anybody in the arts that, you deliver it and you hope it had an effect, and you don't always. I mean, I think now that we're moving into the digital age, there are times where you actually have more. I mean, there are a million things technology is not good about. There are a million things that it's great about. And so sometimes just the fact that people have so much more access and agency to give you their thoughts.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
our www.dallastheatercenter.org, every one of the shows has a place where you can post anything you'd like to write about it. You can make any comment, and we read every single thing that is written. So I love it because there was a day 30 years ago where occasionally you'd get a letter or somebody would make the phone call, and that was lovely. Now it's just so much easier to keep the conversation going after the 2.5 hours or the 2 hours is up. But
Well, kudos to you all for being responsive to your audience, and
absolutely.
also on the programming side, for having such a wide spectrum. It's not, when you look at the season that you offer each year over there, it's never, you're not, you will really make an effort to offer a wide and diverse spectrum of entertainment for different tastes. And I would say to somebody, if you think you may like something, look at the season and be inquisitive.
Right.
You may find other things that surprise you that you didn't know that you liked. One of my favorite things in New York is going down to the tickets booth in Times Square.
Totally, right.
And just it's like a lottery. Well, what do we got? Well,
Spin
I
the
wanted to see
wheel,
that, but
right?
then, I'll go see that. And you find something that you just have an absolute blast and come away loving.
Right.
Sometimes you hate it, but
We
more
saw-
often than not, you're
I know,
surprised.
and I very rarely, even sometimes the thing that I maybe I don't think is my cup of tea, I end up conversing about it, or I'll get in a conversation. I love it around Oscar times. Everybody's like, my list of 10 movies, and then people get in these amazing, emotional, heated conversations, and I think, yeah, but that's the point, is that everybody has their own personal relationship with that piece of art. I spent the afternoon at MoMA a few days ago when I was in New York, and mesmerizing to me to start to commune with things, sometimes art that I have some reference point for, sometimes art that I'm really coming to brand new, and sometimes I really like to go learn about it. Some expert, give me information. Sometimes it's like I just want to come to it as a virgin, and life is pretty
a new
jaded.
experience. Yeah, absolutely.
And I often, when I'm seeing dance, Palabolas was in town recently, but we have Dark Circles Dance Company and Bruce Wood and Texas Ballet Theater. I mean, it's extraordinary every time I go. And I've lived in dance. I was a dance kid. But there is something magical that happens kinetically in that room when you're watching dancers move in space, and that has sort of the beauty of great abstract paintings often, which is that you can just commune with it, and then you will keep thinking about it. It will keep creating ideas for you as the days go by. So,
Well, I had
love
the
this.
pleasure of, we talked about this last week, so I won't talk about it a lot, but seeing American in Paris at the
right.
Bass Hall.
Yeah.
And when Jason Wise was here, he was with us. He did a great job, and he explained it that they were moving all the time. It sounded wonderful to me, but when I was there, and then my husband, who's up for anything, he's a great guy, but for both of us, it was our first time to see this performance, and we were in that, on that stage, in that performance, and it was like you said, there's a feeling that goes on with it. So
I got to see it at DSM, and I had not seen it in New York. I sort of did that bad thing where I assumed it would be around for a long time, and I didn't get myself there. So I was so thrilled to get to see it at Dallas Summer Musicals, and had several friends in the show, and they know they're doing something special, so they sort of deliver it that way, which is also really thrilling. And I think a lot of that has both to do with the fact that there were people on that show who have long roots in musical theater. There were people like Christopher Wheeldon, the choreographer, who's incredible, but has really lived in the dance world, who was mutating into the musical theater world. So it was really a joy to watch because they were testing a lot of ground, and it was a really ambitious piece of musical theater. And the design element, I was like, it just was a I could have listened to the orchestra play that Gershwin music and been perfectly happy. So the fact that there was so much, it was so rich. Yeah. Those are nights you never forget.
Exactly.
You just don't. And especially if you experience them with someone. I'm like, grab someone who's never been to those and take them. It will blow their mind.
Yes.
Okay, that makes me think of something I wanted to talk to you about. We were talking about with American in Paris, on the production side of it, some of the really creative and interesting things they were doing with that. But Wiley Theater is a new animal theatrically in this town.
It is.
What's it like to work with that? You're talking about how you can change from show to show the entire space.
We pinch ourselves every day because the architect, Rem Koolhaas, I don't pretend to pronounce Scandinavian names well, my deep Texas roots, but exactly, I'm just, I end up sounding like the chef from the Muppets one way or the other. It's bad. But basically the way that theater came to be was that as this architect interviewed people about what they wanted in theater, the artists, the donors, the stakeholders, they talked about what used to happen at the Arts District Theater, which was our old sort of, we called it the barn downtown.
The warehouse, yeah.
The warehouse. And the way that it would be a unique and new environment almost every time you walked into it. And I'm making this a little simpler than it should be, but it cost a lot of money to change the configuration if that's just up to you and a bunch of folks in lumber. And so basically his amazing idea that had it been anybody but a world-renowned architect would probably have gotten shot down was, I'll just build the flexibility into the building. We will make it automated. We will use new technology and new skill. And I'm sure I would have been the first to say, you're out of your mind and that will cost too much. And he just kept working at it and molding until ultimately what we got was a theater that really does what it says it's going to do, which is that you can completely change that theater into an entirely different space in a short amount of time, relative to what it would take if it weren't automated. And what it means is that it's you carry this both really kid in a candy shop thing where you're like, we can do crazy, amazing things. And we have done crazy, amazing things. And yet we know we've scratched the surface. Right. I mean, there's so much more it can do. And some of that just requires the bravery to think, well, let's see, what's the worst that can happen? We're going to work really hard not to kill anyone. But, and our audience went on that journey with us. I think there were some diehards, and when I say old diehards, I include me in that, who, sort of love the idea of going to the theater and it's always their same seats and they're in exactly this right spot and they know who the important people are and who the plebeians are. So it was asking a lot to keep coming into our space, and it literally sometimes it's hard to know where the good seats are because it's so immersive. And I think a few people probably fell away, but the majority of people have this huge sense of pride. When they bring friends, it's like, now, wait till you see the space because it's nothing like it was for the last show. It was completely different. We were laying on the floor, staring up, whatever. And we're doing some really exciting things next season that are not yet what we've done before. And so it's really thrilling because the possibilities are sort of endless, and it's both feels like a big responsibility and also like the coolest thing you've ever lucked into in your life, is this space that can accommodate what you dream, which is so rare.
So do you have playwrights and producers that are attracted to working with you all to have the opportunity to work in that space?
Oh, definitely. I would say it's certainly directors and designers they're overjoyed. And we have an incredible resident staff. So, we can not only dream the thing, but we can support that with expertise and talent and all of that, which is pretty exciting. And I would say that what's fascinating about producers and playwrights is that we sort of run the gamut, because if we're working in proscenium, our footprint in terms of the stage to orchestra pit, et cetera, really pretty much matches the standard Broadway houses. So you can do a show with us in proscenium and just pick it up and take it to another theater. So you can very much sort of do that. I would call that more the commercial theater idea, which is we're going to design it here, try it out of town, let Dallas teach us whether it's fully there yet, and then take it, and that has certainly happened. But you can also imagine that there are a lot of artists. We did Kevin directed a piece a year and a half ago called Colossal. That was a play about football, modern dance, catastrophic injury. It had actual football players, modern dancers, a drum line. We turned the entire theater into a giant football field. We raised the shades that are around the place, so we were surrounded by windows and light. I mean, it was a blast. I miss it because I was in the piece, and I got to go work out on a football field every day. And when they took out the set, I was miserable because I was like, I never thought I would love a giant swath of AstroTurf quite so much, but it was so freeing. I mean, and everybody that walked into the space was like a little disoriented and then really thrilled because it felt like you were in a Friday night game.
That's a great segue. We're going to take a break and we're going to watch another video from the Christians. But what I like about what you were describing is what it takes to put something like this on. So you were talking about Colossal and all the different people that are in there. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what we watched on the video, and then you can help us know what's happening there.
Now and in the future?
Yeah, now and in the future.
Excellent.
You're listening to Art and Stage. We'll be right back.
The Christians is a really beautiful new American play by playwright Lucas Nate, and it really focuses on a very, very large church that has grown from a storefront church of a handful of people to a really thriving, what we would probably call a mega church. And on a given Sunday, the minister, after a great deal of heartfelt exploration and study, preaches a sermon that seems to feel that it has a significant shift in theology that has been the known theology, the known faith. And one of the things that is involved in producing Christians is that production itself asks for you to we made the determination that we were friends, associates in Fort Worth Metroplex word and allow backgrounds to make volunteer choir that will appear on stage.
I'm very excited to be a part of this choir because I'm all about like community choir and just people in the community coming together and singing. So the fact that we're going to come together from all over and be here at the Dallas Theater Center doing the Christians is tremendous.
I'm excited about being part of Dallas Theater Center, being in the building, working with Joel Farrell, part of such a quality organization.
Wow, what an opportunity. Patron of the theater, try to make it to every show. I'm also a theater teacher and Project Discovery to see the Christians. So I'm really excited on a night I'm on stage.
And we are back at Art and Stage with your co-hosts Heidi Hardy. I'm Tracy Jordan, and our special guest star tonight, Joel Farrell of the Dallas Theater Center.
That sounded impressive. Somehow when Tracy Jordan says it.
He's got that radio voice.
Truly.
It's my job to make you sound great.
And you do. And you do.
So we were talking about working in the space there at the Wiley. And you're talking about doing a football show. You've in the last several years brought several, as you described it, rethinking of traditional Broadway shows, Broadway musicals into that space. And how's that been?
Well, a blast, wonderful. I mean, I'm lucky in that, my boss and colleague, Kevin Moriarty, loves musicals as well as plays. Which is sort of, I wouldn't say it's a rarity, but it is a rarity that the artistic director of a regional theater has a degree in music, which means that he doesn't just like musicals. I mean, he really understands them at their core. So we have had such incredible musical artists, Justin Ellington and Kim Grigsby, and all kinds of just phenomenal folks, including people who've come in and done original work. And Michael John LaChiusa, I suddenly thought about his production of Giant that we did about 3 years ago. That was a big, big, big undertaking. Michael Greif directed. Just a phenomenal cast. And one of those shows that's typical of Michael John that you sort of feel like probably should be in opera companies around it. It's so big, so sweeping. The score is so magnificent and timeless. So every one of them is a roller coaster ride. We did a production of a piece called Fly that was sort of a very, very modern riff on Peter Pan that sort of came at it from Wendy's perspective, which anybody who knows that piece sort of knows that's actually the person who evolves that's the character that evolves. And I think there's something I often really have butterflies in my stomach in a big way when we take on new work, large-scale new work. Because, of course, there are 1,000 things that can go wrong, especially if you're employing new technology or if you're just, the bigger a group you gather together to make something. But, of course, we look back on those, and every one of them was beyond thrilling in its way. And we're lucky that several of those, Giant was a co-production with the Public, so it went on to New York and had a great life with Brian Darcy James in the lead. It's, we pinch ourselves. It's sort of like when you're young and in the arts, you think, I wonder if anybody will ever give me an opportunity to sort of do what I want to do or do it, or dream big. When somebody does, it's like part unnerving and part like the thrill of your life because there are moments as you're getting ready for an opening night that you think, no one will come. It will all go. We're going to crash and burn. And then, it's beyond thrilling when an audience starts to commune with that, when you get that final character, which is, the live audience. And I'm amazed because there's been this resurgence in musical theater, I think, in the popularity of musical theater. And maybe it was there and I didn't see it, but it feels like there are so many teenagers, so many young people right now really invested in the variations on American musical theater, from old-fashioned to wildly innovative and new, and that art form can mutate so magnificently.
You were talking about new technology. I think as you and I are of the same same age, and as we get older and moldier, that technology is really affecting how you produce a show.
Yeah.
And the new kids that walk around with their earphones in and their phones
plugged in, baby. They are.
That plugged in generation is going to bring a new creativity that we probably can't even conceive at this point.
Yeah. It's that's already true, and there will be some downside to it. It's technology is good when it's used well, and not when it's not, which I think is already becoming a cliche. But it's thrilling to me. I don't think there's anything I think being involved in the arts. Maybe this is a cliche too, but you just are forever youthful. It doesn't occur to me to not be thinking of and anticipating and pondering the next idea, the next sort of daring cliff I can jump off of without a parachute.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, because I feel the same now that I did 25, 30 years ago, and I look in the mirror every morning and say, who the hell is
Shocking,
that?
isn't it? I'm like, I look in the mirror, I see Elaine Stritch. I'm like, when did that happen?
Okay, so, and I'm going to use this as a segue. So I know we're talking about the future, and you're about to announce your new season, and you're still sworn to secrecy.
Yes, I am.
But in perhaps broad general terms, or plans that you all have, not just for this coming season, but in seasons hence.
Right.
Give us a preview, a taste, a peek into the looking glass.
Well, literally this weekend we're launching something that is brand new to us, but that we are borrowing from the Public Theater in New York, which is called Public Works, which is this sort of amazing. Basically, it's the love child of an amazing artist named Lear de Bissonnette, who came up with an idea when if you know the Public Theater, a lot of their original mission started with this idea of creating free Shakespeare, which is sort of really hard to do. Shakespeare plays are big and muscular and require a lot of people, and so the idea of doing them for free, and I can look back 30 years and think of all the shows I've seen at the Delacorte in New York City, in Central Park, and I got to see Meryl Streep and Kevin Kline, and I mean just amazing performances for free. When I was a broke young actor, that was a hellacious, wonderful benefit to living in New York. And so as they generationally continue to sort of riff off of that, she created this thing where they send teaching artists out and embed themselves in the 5 boroughs of New York. They work with people who are not trained professionals, who would not normally have easy access or agency in the arts and professional arts. And then ultimately, after spending time with them in their communities and their neighborhoods, getting to their families and their world, they are all invited, and their communities are invited to audition for this giant piece of Shakespeare that's been adapted to a musical version. We and Seattle Rep are the first 2 regional theaters that are going to do this, and for us, it's happening right now. When I leave here, I'm going to tech rehearsal. Kevin Moriarty is directing. We have a wonderful choreographer named Ann Yee who is choreographing it, and it is some amazingly skilled professionals. Andre DeShields, world-renowned Andre DeShields, brilliant, talented musical theater artist, is playing Prospero. Some of our resident acting company are in it, and then all of these people from all over Dallas. I mean, West Dallas, South Dallas. It's just amazing to me.
Out of the community.
And many of them have not seen professional theater. They have not done professional theater. This took laying an amazing amount of groundwork to sort of abolish the barriers.
Yeah.
I like to call it the citizens theater. It's that thing that we always struggle with, which is, how do you keep the arts from feeling like a sort of elite level event?
How do you keep the music playing?
Exactly. And I mean, for me, I go back to my childhood and think, I have no idea how my parents scraped together enough money for me to go. And I do remember that occasionally they would drop me off because they could afford my ticket, but not a ticket for the whole family. And hallelujah that's the way I got access to it.
You didn't get kidnapped or
Well, in a way, I did.
Yes,
I was kidnapped by the love of the arts and happy about it. But so this is one of those grand experiments that.
How long
has
this process taken?
Months and months and months. I mean, the planning stages started 1.5 years ago. We had amazing artists, Will Power, Lydia Mackey, wonderful actress in town, Yvonne Yasso, all of these great, wonderful teaching and performing artists who have been out with our community partners, as we call them, teaching classes, some with large groups of people who are predominantly Spanish-speaking. So it required figuring out, and I think we have come to so embrace this that now it's just in our DNA. It's like, look, if we want everyone to have access, if we want every human being in Dallas to feel at ease, to feel connected to the Dallas Theater Center, you got to get rid of the barriers. Yeah. So whether that is ADA requirements, whether that is language, whatever that is, get rid of the barriers and make it available to them. And of course, what we're finding is there was some trepidation in that. We had our own fears. and of course, the process. I mean, I think what's going on stage is going to be as amazing as the process, but the process, oh my gosh. I mean, first of all, we have 200 new friends from all over Dallas that we would not have known otherwise. They have all made friends with one another. So there's people from South Dallas that now have buddies in East Dallas and West Dallas. And it is sort of this great equalizer. It's sort of what the Greeks did, which was make a way to bring the whole city together and play out poetic ideas that sometimes are difficult ideas, sometimes are joyous, drop in a good bit of laughter, because good Lord, we need it right now. But I mean, I don't think I've experienced anything that I feel is any more important in my theatrical career than watching and getting to be a small part of watching this play out and seeing 6-year-olds and grandparents and people who are predominantly Spanish speaking, everybody working to make sure that they don't feel like, a guest, that it's their theater. It's their theater, it's their space, it's their city. And that's what we all should be doing, right? Is just get rid of the barriers.
So if folks, some of our listeners are sitting out there thinking, holy cow, I have got to go see this.
Yes.
How do they do that?
Well, they can call DallasTheaterCenter.org, go online to that, or at PAC, and the phone numbers are on the websites, and call the box office and ready to rock and roll. In fact, many of the tickets are free. This is intended as a giant community-wide celebration. It's not about, it's very, very costly, as you can imagine, to do. We've literally created a whole city that we're calling the Community Village with rented tents and things, because we've never done anything with this many people. So now I know what it must have felt like to film the 10 Commandments. It's a lot of folks.
So how many performances and when are they?
They are Friday night, 2 Saturday, and 1 Sunday. So there's a Sunday matinee, a matinee and an evening on Saturday, and 1 Friday night. So we're in tech rehearsal right now. In fact, tonight is really the first night that all of the elements, all of the community partners are all going together on stage. And I've never seen a theater full of skilled professionals more nervous and more excited. I mean, people are giddy. It's like, we have 150 costumes that our resident costume designer, Jen Abels, has created and done multiple fittings with every one of those people, and that's one thing when you're talking about professionals who have been to a million costume fittings. It's another thing when that's a brand new world for you. And it's all been handled with such incredible love. And I think, honestly, again, it's a tough time nationally right now for everybody, because it's just hard to be upset and angry, and trying to find civil discourse and the joy in community, and celebrate differences.
Absolutely.
Takes some energy. And to be in the midst of doing that is just, I'm giddy. I cannot wait to get back up there. Normally I'm ready to go home, if I'm not in the middle of a show. But
it sounds like a cliche, but I think of our national motto on our bills. E pluribus unum. You're doing it, baby.
That's right. That's right. It's true. That's the beauty of the great American experiment. Messy as hell, but there for everyone when we get it right. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Well, this show goes by very, very fast, and so we have a couple of minutes. I did want to thank you and invite you to come back.
Yes.
I don't think because we didn't get to the season.
We didn't. I will say this: that we are not only inventing new ways to partner with other community partners. We're doing an amazing co-production with SMU and the Meadow School of the Arts, which I'm so excited about. But we're also we're going to kick off the season with an exploration of a musical that already exists, but in a crazy, wonderful, environmental way, directed by Kevin Moriarty. I promise you, just come and explore and
check out the website.
Check out our website.
Get on there right away.
This is embarrassing, and this is why they don't let me be in charge. But I think literally our season mostly like in the media launches tomorrow, and so literally by the weekend, if we do our job right, everyone will be battered with information about the new season at Dallas Theater Center. But I hope that, and we also like to be a conduit for all the other arts that are going on.
Wonderful. Well, we do too, and we look forward to having you back
and
having more exciting. While we close, I want to make sure that I plug Dance Planet that's coming up. Dance Planet 21.
Yeah.
just around the corner at April 9th at the Booker T. Washington School
by
for the
you?
Performing and Visual Arts. Starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. There will be dance classes, dance performances all day long.
It's so much
and it's
fun.
free.
Yeah.
It is the biggest free dance event in the country.
Well, go to thedancecouncil.org and we'll be able to get you more information, and we'll be talking about it on other shows. In fact, we're
That's
going to
right.
have a show about it, so we'll be very excited. Definitely consider sponsoring this art and stage program. We're very grateful for our guests and for the people that support us. And
Yeah,
and
don't let Park Place Volvo get all the airtime.
Yeah,
Come
we
on.
love them
Sponsor
for
it.
sure.
I know.
Yeah,
They're great.
definitely. But thank you again, Joel and
bet.
Tracy. And,
Thank you, Heidi.
You have been watching Art and Stage. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Over 100 Dallas ISD students engage in free educational experience taught by premier dance professionals and have the opportunity to perform through the Youth Council program each year. Dance Planet is the largest free dance festival of its kind in the country. Hosts over 30 master classes in an extensive array of dance styles to 1,000 dance enthusiasts at any stage and any age of their dance. It offers inspiring talks with dance professionals, as well as opportunities to perform with 80 other dance groups in dance styles from all over the world. Here, Dance Council of Texas awards over $38,000 in scholarships to at least 45 outstanding educators to attend distinguished programs and professional development seminars. Dance Council of North Texas scholarship recipients have gone on to dance professionally on Broadway and with celebrated dance companies in the U.S. and abroad.
Last year, over 47,000 people attended Dance Council of North Texas events, including Dance Planet, National Tap Dance Celebration, Dance Council Honors, the Vitruvian Salsa Festival, Party at North Park Center, and Dallas Dance Fest. In collaboration with the town of Addison and Salsa Dallas, Dance Council of North Texas produces the Vitruvian Salsa Festival, a free summer salsa celebration bringing together live music, performance, salsa lessons, and dancing to over 39,000 attendees. Each Labor Day weekend, Dance Council of North Texas presents Dallas Dance Fest, a festival of dance excellence that features up to 25